Well, hello, hello, hello again. It's Michael Jacobs from the Spiritually Awakened Man channel, the channel where awakened men can feel comfortable being men. The video I put together today is called 10 Ways a Spiritual Awakening Can Show Up in the Daily Grind. I thought it was an interesting topic because I was starting to reflect on all the different ways my spiritual awakening is showing up in my daily life or my daily grind, as you would say. It's interesting. We can read about these things and they're interesting. We can listen to videos about, different aspects of a spiritual awakening and enjoy it. And then I think a lot of times we just go back to what our daily life is. We don't think about this stuff so much. And I wanted to reflect on my experiences in where these things are showing up in my life, whether I'm being proactive and in trying to think about them or they just naturally showing up. And it might help you recognize this happening in your life too. And then we can get some commentary going, and maybe we can discover some new areas that maybe none of us thought about. Let me start off with what comes to mind for me, and I'll just go through it and see where we go. The first thing I have on the list is realizing separation. Been more aware of how separation is showing up in my life, just naturally. Understanding that all this is just a movie. It's just something that we're living through in an avatar sort of a format, and we're really not part of it. We're observing it. We are the observers. We're the director on the stage, and we are directing how everything goes. So when I get all wound up with a million things I have to do in a day and something else comes in that I didn't plan on, and it throws a monkey wrench into my schedule, those kinds of things. It happens to all of us. I now naturally stop when I find myself getting a little wound up. I just stop and I step away and think about the fact that I am the director and I'm just watching this. And I'm watching all this stuff go on, and that's not really me. I'm just here to observe. Part of me is here to observe. That's what the separation is all about, is this construct that we're dealing with here. And the more I think about that, it's not like I sit there and think about it for a half hour or something. I just kind of go, wait a second, Mike, just remember, okay, there's a separation here, and we are separate from all this chaos. Really. It puts me in a different mindset, and everything just works out much smoother. So that's one area where this just sort of shows up on its own, really. Number two, I notice when I'm triggered. Triggering is something that lowers our vibration. Triggering is something that lowers our vibrational frequency. We get wound up, we get annoyed, we get ticked off about something. We all have issues that really get under our skin, and it doesn't do anything good for us getting triggered. And so if you were going to work on your shadow, do shadow work, as they say, which is get into these things that maybe really trigger you, like things that happen in your childhood, triggers that happen because nothing you did in this lifetime, they happened in another lifetime even. We drag these things with us. It's something that we all have. And so I find myself really noticing when either I get a little triggered or I'm starting to wind up to be triggered. Maybe it's all these other things, a chaotic day, and then this thing comes up that really annoys us. Bam, and then we trigger. I'm able to more and more so get ahead of that before the trigger happens. And it's not something I've tried to do. It's just something that's naturally starting to happen. And that's all from my spiritual awakening. And it makes my life go a lot smoother when I can avoid that triggering. I just tell myself, it's just one of those stupid triggers that I don't need to deal with, and I let it go. A saying I really like that I'll leave you with on that point is, let our triggers be our guide. I didn't make that up. I got it from somebody else. I'll give the credit. I can't take credit for it, but it's a great saying. If you want to figure out how to get better, become a better awakened soul when it comes to working on your shadows relative to triggering and things like that, follow your triggers, embrace them, dig into them and figure out what they are and bring them to light so that you can get over them and recognize them. So let your triggers be your guide. Number three, being more aware of my spiritual team and engaging them. This is what I'm talking about is our spiritual team. We all have grown up in one form or another, talking about our guardian angels, and there's somebody looking over me and things like that. Well, there really is. But the thing is, it's not some individual entity. It's a whole group of entities that are watching over you. We call them guides, mentors, ascended masters. They're all watching over you. You've been assigned a team to watch over you in your lifetime, your many lifetimes, actually. And so the more and more I became aware of this concept, I started to engage my team. They like to be engaged. Engage them in your thinking. Don't just go to them when you have a problem. Engage them in your daily thought process. When you have a dilemma, or you're dealing with something that's frustrating, or anything like that, and invite their perspective. And the more adept you get at this, the more they'll communicate with you. I believe I'm being communicated with in a voice form. And it's hard to tell, right? If it's just your thoughts or it's some other thoughts coming through. I believe now that it's other thoughts coming through. And it really helps me. Whether it is or it isn't, it helps me work through decisions and dilemmas and frustrating things in my life to have that there. However, whatever the source, right? Okay, so the other thing I do is I look for signs in numbers, numerology, and things like that. It started off as kind of an interesting little thing to do, where all of a sudden you see this number, 515, 818, 1111. So as you become more spiritually awakened, these numbers take on a more real aspect. And when you look into them, you find that that is a way that you're being communicated with. Not in every sense. Sometimes a number is just a number. Okay, when you start to see certain numbers over and again, and you realize when you go look them up, you can just Google these numbers up. You know, what's the spiritual awakening of 515 or whatever number you saw. Then the next day you might see another number, or that evening you see another number. Look that up, and it might not be the same number as the other one, but it falls into the same kind of vein as the other number, the same message line of thinking. And you realize that this seems a little coincidental. This goes right along with synchronicities too. But this is a way that your guides are trying to communicate with you. And I really believe that they are. After having just sort of for fun looked up these numbers a lot, and I ask other people about it too. Hey, do you see numbers? That people that I know are going through spiritual awakening, that is, hey, do you see repetitive numbers? And they tell me, oh, absolutely. So this is real, and it's worked its way into my daily grind and really helped me out. So maybe think about that a little bit. Sometimes, this would be point number 4. Sometimes I'm just so tired, and it doesn't seem like it's for any particular reason. Like it's maybe in the afternoon, and it's not because I've had like a big lunch or something like that. I don't eat big lunches, you know, I take kind of small lunches. But you're just, so exhausted. I just can't even function. And there's no reason for it. It's not like I stayed up late. It's not like I've been burning the candle at both ends. It's not like I'm sick and coming down with something. And I started to wonder, what in the heck is going on? Is there something wrong with me? And I forget how I got off on this track, but I figured after, I guess, probably reading some things that just, come to me on my YouTube channel or things like that, or, other channels that I belong to. What it is, it's the sun and its energy coming from the sun. It's solar fatigue. The sun is beating us with energy that we've never been hit with before. I won't go into a long thing, but, our solar system, as a solar system, travels around the universe, okay? And it has, just like our planets go around the sun, our solar system goes around the galaxy, okay? And then the galaxy itself has all these solar systems in it. The galaxy itself goes around, one lap, basically, of that. And we're coming up right now, it's a unique time where we're finishing up a 230 million year galactic cycle. And it's opening up certain things that have never been opened up. Well, not never, but for 230 million years, opened up. And energy coming from that central sun is coming through, because things aren't blocking it, coming through and hitting our sun. So our sun is charging up with energy that it hasn't had for a long time. Certainly not in our lifetimes, or any of our lifetimes, or any of our many lifetimes. And it's coming through in the form of solar flares, solar winds, coronal mass ejections cause a lot of this. This is all bombarding us, and we can see this because people track it. They track it with, the Schumann resonance, and they track it with, different methods, right? Scientifically, they've been doing this for a long time. And so I don't go to the science stations because they're a little confusing, but there are people that follow this stuff, and you just Google them up, right? And you'll find, or look them up on YouTube search, and you'll find people that can tell you what's going on a daily basis. And sure enough, when you're feeling just worked and beat down for no particular reason, it's because we're getting smashed with this solar activity. And this solar activity is running our batteries down in a way, because it's forcing our bodies to change. We're changing. We are changing at the DNA level, and we're changing at other levels as well, as these different types of energy forms. And we've got vibration, frequency, and that creates energy, and different types of energy, right? We're just getting bashed with this stuff as we go through these changes. So if you're really feeling thrashed, maybe don't get concerned that there's something wrong with you. This is just what's happening. And take care of your body. Drink a lot of water. Maybe take a nap that you might not take on the weekend when you can. Go to bed early, whatever. Just really take care of yourself, because we are, as a collective, getting hit pretty hard. So that's something that I traced back from a spiritual awakening perspective to something that's going on, just like our spiritual awakening. This kind of energy activity is what's, creating the change that we're seeing through our spiritual awakening, by the way. So it's all related. Number 5, I'm aware of cognitive dissonances more so than I ever was before. You've probably all heard of the term cognitive dissonance. Like me, maybe you heard the word but didn't really understand it, or didn't really see it coming into play in your daily life. I do now, because of what I've learned about, this is higher frequency stuff. You don't want to get into arguments with people where your ego has to be right. That's a low vibrational frequency thing. It creates tension with people, many times good friends, loved ones. Many times the reason this happens, even though you might have very good information about a certain topic, more so than someone, you're trying to share it with them. You're trying to change their perspective on something because you have real data. And what you need to realize is many times you're dealing with a belief system on their side, and they don't have this data that you have. And because they have a cognitive dissonance about that belief, they really believe that, that how they understand it is the way it is. This comes into play with religion, politics, all kinds of different things like that. How many miles you should wait between oil changes on your car, what's good to eat, what isn't healthy to eat, what is healthy, the best way to do something, okay, on and on and on, right? They have beliefs. Some of them are deep-seated, some of them are just surface. But if you have information that goes against a belief, they have a dissonance around that topic, because they have this belief that they've set in place, and it just blocks information that you're, trying to share with them, because you think it could help them. And they might have not quite the right perspective on something. Anyway, they'll fight you on it. They won't hear what you're saying, and they'll fight you on it. Being aware that you're dealing with a cognitive dissonance around that topic, just drop it. You're not going to get anywhere. They're not going to hear you. About the only thing you can do, I found, is to just casually say, well, there's some other information out there. You might find it interesting if you choose to look into it, and just drop it. So I find myself taking that route a lot now. I never did before. A lot of times I dig in a little bit more. No, there's this information, I can provide it for you. And that's my ego coming into play. That's a low vibrational activity, and it's not where you want to be. So that's one really key thing that I saw coming into play. Really came into play around a very sensitive topic that happened a couple of years ago that had to do with our health. I'll just leave it at that, right? I'm very aware now of my low vibrational moments. This is number 6. Our our goal is to have a very high vibrational frequency, as high as possible. You want to be dealing in the vibrational frequency category of, love, joy, happiness, compassion, forgiveness, um, those kinds of areas. That's where you want to be functioning. And those are very high levels of vibrational frequency. We can't, it's very hard for us to vibrate there as all the time. We get drawn down into for all kinds of reasons, drawn down into lower vibrational frequencies throughout our day. I am, as I go through my daily grind, this is where my spiritual awakening information is popping up again, because I recognize that and I catch myself. This is a low vibrational frequency. This is not where I want to be. And I'll just slap myself and say, Michael, raise your vibrational frequency. Michael, raise your vibrational frequency. You can also do this by thinking about something you really enjoy doing. Maybe you realize that, hey, after work today, you're going to get to go do something you really enjoy. Give a little gratitude, focus on gratitude. That's a great vibrational frequency to be working with. And just think about that. And boom, it'll just pull you right out of that other low vibrational frequency level. But I find myself being able to catch myself more often. That's one area that I think is very valuable. All right. Number 7, I'm more compassionate and forgiving. Even when I'm getting cut off, let's say, from like driving my car, getting cut off by someone that just blatantly cuts me off, instead of under my breath cursing them or flipping my hand at them or just yelling in my car, hey, I just don't do that anymore. I take the line of compassion and forgiveness. Hey, that guy, poor guy, didn't see me. Maybe he's an older driver. I forgive him for that. I'm glad nothing went wrong. I just find myself taking that tact, and I'm just more laid back now. I just don't let that stuff bug me anymore. Not that it was a huge thing before, but I take something like that, like getting cut off, as an intrusion into what could go wrong with a little fender bender, or like something like that. And that's why I get annoyed. I just don't go there anymore. And I find myself taking that line of thinking a lot. Really helps me. Number 8, more aware of unconscious messaging. For example, when you think about somebody, maybe it's because they're thinking about you. We've all heard this before. We've all probably experienced it before. You're thinking about somebody and all of a sudden they text you 5 minutes later. It's weird, right? That's unconscious messaging, some connection. We know in the universe everything's connected, and it really is. Once we become more enlightened individuals and are functioning at a higher vibrational frequency, we will be able to open up more active areas of communication unconsciously, like that. Telepathy, for example, and things like that. But right now, it's just something we can't really control directly, and we are making it happen. It's functioning at that level. Okay, the more you're aware of it, I think the more the sooner you'll be able to cultivate that that trait. Anyway, that's just one idea. I had something else written down here. And also contemplating that these numbers are another form of unconscious messaging, right? You're getting messages coming into you, you're seeing them, you're investigating them. The more awareness you have about them, you'll develop more awareness about them, and then you'll be able to incorporate them into your life. Okay, number 9, when you're having a tough day, I stop, take a breath, and I think, Michael, what are you so wound up about? You're creating your own reality. So we're creating our own reality. And I tend to, want to remember that more often since I've been in the spiritual awakening. First of all, my spiritual awakening got me really locked into how that whole concept works and why it's actually real. Even though I don't have a firm, full grasp of it in terms of being able to implement it, I'm aware that I'm creating my reality. And so I just stop, take a deep breath, remember that, and then I start putting into action some of these things we've learned about how you manifest, how you change your timelines, things like that. And the more we do it, I believe we will become more adept at really making quick manifestations and being able to change our timelines on cue. And I never, just in the course of my day, I was so tied up with things that I would never think this way. So that's one thing I've noticed, that it's a change. Also, some things have less appeal to me. For example, things that I eat. I used to love just a big steak, with some baked potato and a nice big salad, big glass of red wine. Ah, that was just nirvana. Not every night, of course, but when you could do it, which was infrequent, really, a full-on meal like that, but not that uncommon, right? Eating a lot, eating hamburgers, eating more beef, with fries and that whole thing. It just tastes so good. I started to find that food appealed to me less, and I started searching out lighter foods, salad with some chicken in it, maybe, or seafood type things, tuna, sushi, other sources of protein, not in a maniacal way, but it's just, I started looking for those things naturally. And I rarely have a burger or a big steak anymore. And there's reasons for that. There's health reasons for it. And then there's also spiritual reasons for it. And then I started to lose weight. Not that I had a weight issue or anything, but I noticed I just started thinning out. And they say in your spiritual awakening, as you start rising in your vibrational frequency, you're moving more toward the light body, which is a lighter body, higher vibrational frequency. And that makes a lot of sense. The things that you might not be as interested in having anymore. I used to love craft beers and wine and things like that. And they don't appeal to me anymore. In fact, I rarely ever, unless it's a social occasion, have those things anymore. I just cut them out, and it wasn't hard. And I'm a guy that loved, having those wonderful craft beers and a big glass of red wine, with dinner. So it's just naturally happening. And it didn't just happen all by itself. It's what's going on right now with all of us. Maybe you have had the same experience. The other area there is things kind of shows I watch on TV. Now, I know I don't watch any TV. I don't watch any mainstream media anymore at all. I mean, zero. And but I still like to watch some things on TV. And being a guy, I like to watch action movies and spy movies and war movies. And that's just being a guy in a lot of ways. Not that women don't like some of those movies too, but I'm talking to mostly guys here, I assume. So you guys get it. But what I found is, while I still enjoy those kind of movies, the plot, good acting, and those things, and there's nothing like a really good movie to engage you, just get your mind off a busy day or something like that, right? Just to really wind down and relax. I found myself just turning off movies where they were just at a high level of violence and gore. A movie can be a great movie, same plot, everything, without some of that, some of that very colorful, action, gore, and stuff rolled in. It doesn't do anything, and it just really turns me off now. Where before, it's not that I liked it before. I would just realize, hey, the movie's a great movie, and I can just not pay attention to that stuff and not have it affect me. And then before that, go back earlier, I would just watch it all, take it all in. Anyway, that's another area that I know has changed my life, okay, in terms of the way, like in a daily way. The last thing is, and this is number 11, this is a bonus one I wanted to throw in there. I tend to spend more time in my own thoughts. I will go for a long walk when I want to relax, and I won't listen to a podcast or music or whatever I would listen to. Way before, I used to listen to a lot of those kind of things. Now I listen to spiritual awakening kinds of channels and things like that. But even that stuff, I find I just more and more will turn everything off and just walk. And I'll just be by myself, and I'll just be in my zone, and I'll be thinking about these things. I'll be giving gratitude, thinking about these things on this list in a great amount of time. And I really enjoy it. And I just get so relaxed and so away from what's really going on in the world. That's really helped me. I'm more relaxed. I think I'm healthier. I'm more aware of how to be in control of my thoughts. Overall, this has been so helpful to me. And so those are my, started out as 10, and I threw a bonus 11 because I wanted to add it at the end of the list there. I thought it was important, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe this has sparked some, some thinking on your side. Maybe some of these things are the same, and I'm sure you've got areas that I don't have, and I would love to hear what they are. And we can get some really interesting conversation going in the chat section, perhaps. Anyway, I would enjoy that. That's all I've got for you today. Again, I'm Michael at the Spiritually Awakened Man channel. I thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. All right. Namaste.